right, it's Tuesday night and the final Tuesday night before the start of the college hockey season. I'm Mike. This is Wes. This is Goal Horns and Fight Songs, and a little bit shorter episode this week, but we have our predictions on where all 8 teams are going to finish.
I don't know if I did so much finish. I kind of did a mix of like where I think the teams are now and where they could finish.
No, I just did where
But
they're going to finish in the standings. I just looked ahead, end of the year. It's subject to change. Our opinions are subject to change.
but let's start with where everybody finished last year. Miami kept a firm grasp of that 8th spot. Colorado.
Yeah, they weren't going to let that one go.
No,
they've like the hand of God on that last position.
I think they had maybe 3 conference wins all year last year. Firmly down there in 8. They have been at least the last 2 years that I know of for sure. Just above them, holding down the 7th spot for I believe at least the second consecutive year was Colorado College. Maybe a little bit of a surprising finish at number 6 for North Dakota. 4 and 5 or a repeat of the 2021-2022 season.
Yep.
The Bulldogs finishing 5th, the Huskies of St. Cloud State finishing 4th. I mean, they ended up playing 2 great playoff series because of their finish last year. I think it was kind of surprising to see St. Cloud be 4th in the conference, considering I think at one point they were like 3rd in the country and playing really, really well otherwise. But in the conference, man, this is a tough conference, and if you're not winning conference games, it's gonna take a toll on you.
Yeah, I think for them, they were rated very highly during the non-conference portion of the schedule early in the year, but they did run into some good teams and some hot goaltenders, but still good enough to finish 4th. But if that's your 4 seed team in a conference, that's a really good 4 seed.
Yeah, I mean, they went on to win the Frozen Faceoff from that spot. And as we mentioned when we were doing the team breakdowns, this is the second time that the winner of that series has gone on to win the Frozen Faceoff. Minnesota Duluth doing it the year before from the 5 seed. Number 3 was the Mavericks of Nebraska Omaha. Looks like they're bringing back the bull logo on their jerseys and representing it a little more than just the O this year. So good luck for them. A conference high finish for the Broncos at number 2 after finishing 3rd the year before. And Denver goes back-to-back at number 1 after splitting the number 1 spot with North Dakota last year. So some schools stayed around the same spot. Denver, Western really stayed up near the top. North Dakota fell quite heavy. And then, the bottom half, or the bottom 2 spots were the bottom 2 spots last year. And the media does not seem to think that those will change much.
I also just realized I forgot a school in my rankings.
Better squeeze them in.
I knew there was one missing there.
But for the media's preseason rankings, we all kind of saw them. I'm just going to run through them real quick here. Number 8 once again is Miami. Colorado College listed at number 7. 6 is Nebraska Omaha. 5 Minnesota Duluth. 4 Western Michigan. 3 St. Cloud Huskies. 2 making the biggest leap is projected to be North Dakota, and number 1 remaining Denver, which would lock up the Penrose for 3 straight years if the media is accurate in picking that number 1 spot. Before we get into ours, I think there's some questionable things on this list. I'll go with what they got right first off. Miami being that 8th seed. I really don't expect them to move too much. I just don't think they did enough in the offseason, whether it was get high recruits or, even transfer guys. I think they lost a lot in the transfer portal, that being their number 1 goalie in Ludwig Persson, who goes to North Dakota. their number one center in Red Savage, where he goes to Minnesota or Michigan State.
Hmm.
Uh, Joey Cassetti transfers as I believe a grad student to Western Michigan. So just losing some big components of that team. They do keep, I believe he will run it back for a second season as their captain. Um, that being whose name I said before the show, and for some stupid reason can't remember now.
And you think I paid attention to what you were saying?
I know you didn't. Jack Clement. That's why I write things down. That old man brain that I've got going on. I have not seen anything about alternate or assistant captains, depending on how you define the A. Some use alternate, some use assistant. But yeah, I do believe that they will once again be at the bottom. I think Bergeron's running on thin ice with that program. Yes, pun intended. So I think they're locked in right there where they should be. And in fact, I will actually lock my 8th seed in as Miami.
Yeah, I think you can do the same for me. That it's just the writing's there, and it's not even in the sand. It's in stone. They are not. They are going to struggle this year. I don't. They could shock the world, but if they do, hell has frozen over. Pigs have flown, and I'm not single again. So, it's they're going to end up last.
A little bit of a surprise here with Colorado College being number 7 in the media poll. I mean, I guess I do kind of get why they put them there. You have their number 1 offensive player in Hunter McCown going to the Columbus Blue Jackets at the end of the season. They do get, I mean, I don't think it was a really surprise that he'd be coming back. I don't know that he was going to be plucked out of anywhere, but rather surprised from Emberko that, he played as well as he did last year. I think he's going to be a main part of that Colorado roster going forward for the next few years. And if he doesn't have a bad year, they're really set up nice defensively. They came on defensively at the end of the year. If they can continue to roll that, I mean, this team could make some noise. And I don't know that they're going to be super high up there, but I put them a little bit higher in the bottom half of the conference this year. Just, thinking about like what they do have. They do lose backup goaltender Mike Vernon. He graduated, signed on with a pro team. Or Matt Vernon. Mike was his dad. But I still think that they should be higher on this list but that's me.
I don't disagree with anything that you said, especially building off of what they were able to do last year.
Number 6, the Mavs. Again, I think they're a little bit underranked here. Yes, they do tend to be a little bit strugglesome in the conference. They generally play a little bit softer non-conference schedule, but this is a team that came on at the end of the year and really put pressure on Western Michigan and St. Cloud State to earn that 3 spot that they had last year. I don't know that they lost a whole bunch. They're in a similar situation to, I think, Colorado College, where they had a really good freshman goaltender last year who stepped up and kind of took control of the crease. And if they can have another good, solid year, he could be a cornerstone of that team too. And we saw the Mavericks put up some heavy offense against some of the more offensive teams. I mean, they had a 13-goal game, scored 7 in a 13-goal game with Western Michigan last year. And, so they have the offensive prowess. Again, I don't remember them losing a whole bunch. I believe that they're the only team that, in fact, returned their entire leadership core of, captain and assistant alternate captains. Again, however you define that A for yourself. But that being Noah Sullivan, Matt Miller, and Jack Randall. Sullivan being the captain, Miller and Randall being the alternates. So really, I think they're in a pretty good spot, and I see them competing probably right around where they were last year, that 3, 4, maybe even 2 spot.
That one, I mean, for them, maybe I have them underrated, but I definitely I just don't have faith in them. I just never will because they're so inconsistent.
I just think there's teams that are listed on this list ahead of them that could fall lower, and by default, they would be the team that boosts up either them or Colorado College. Number 5, Minnesota Duluth. I do feel like this is actually one of the teams that they got right in this area. Somewhere between 4, 5, and 6 is kind of where I had them throughout most of my debating on ranking teams. Um, it'll be interesting to see if either was it Thiessen or Stay Skull can really take control this year of the crease. They both of them struggled last year. Maybe a full year or a full off season for Zach can help him continue to recover from cancer he fought. The last couple of years. Um, they do have another player out battling cancer. Maybe they can rally for him. He wants to be back by the midpoint of the year. Um, Sandlin's a great coach. He's shown that he can get the team ready and play well and have them prepared week in and week out. They're a team that I don't really know exactly what they did in the offseason between their recruits and what they looked for in the portal. But these are generally a little bit tougher for me just because I don't necessarily pay attention to all of the commit talk or the prospect talk. I wait and see what the team looks like on the ice and then determine from there like what I think they're really capable of. But I do think that it might be another struggle year for Minnesota Duluth as they continue to figure out exactly what their identity is and potentially wait for the goaltender of the future there to step up and prove that that's what they need, because in years past they've had some outstanding goaltending and have relied on that and built from the crease out. And it just seems like the last couple of years the goaltending hasn't been quite up to par with what they need.
I think looking at the recruits coming in and the transfer portal, I think we lost two, and I think we only gained two, so we filled those two needs. Um, and the freshman portal, there are names that have come in watching high school hockey here in Minnesota, especially from the state tournament. That's where you get to know a lot more about these players that are going to be coming as freshmen. Now, yes, it was a couple years ago. They had a year or two of juniors, but I think there's some talent. I'm just curious what the identity of this team is going to be because, like you said, it's build from the crease out, more defensive. You're not going to get that high flying scorer from UMD, but I think with a lot of the guys coming back, it there's some chemistry there and they can help build, because I think that's been a strength of our team in the past where there's a lot of older guys that can bring along the younger guys. And last year, it just was one of those years where we didn't have it didn't seem like the leadership group was quite ready to be the leaders, and we lost a lot more going into last year than we did this year.
Yeah, and in fact, Minnesota Duluth is actually the 49th youngest team in the country with an average age of just under 22 at 21 years 11 months. They're also the from the third youngest team in the NCHC. So definitely some room to grow. I think when we were looking at teams, they had a pretty large freshman and sophomore class, which would account for that young age there. But I think they just seem to be in like the middle of a rebuild, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think this is one of the teams they got right,
Yeah, and I have them right around that area as well.
or at least in the ballpark. I think I have them slightly lower, but Number 4, Western Michigan University. Again, to me, I feel like this team is underrated. They're coming off of back-to-back years with the nation's leading goal scorer, back-to-back years of their top line being recruited to the pro ranks. Um, they have the reigning NCHC Coach of the Year in Pat Ferschweiler. They are actually the oldest team in the NCHC. A lot of experience. Uh, their goaltender Cameron Rowe was the goaltender of the year in the Big Ten his freshman year. I believe he was goaltender of the year or rookie of the year, one of the two. He's earned plenty of accolades here in the NCHC. He had a comparable stats to one of the premier Western Michigan goaltenders, that being Brandon Bussey from the year before him. He has a pretty much returning defensive core. Western honestly did a great job in the portal this year. They ended up stealing some picks or some prospects at the end of the summer there. The big name being Alex Bump decommitting or transferring to Western Michigan after committing and at least appearing in Vermont for a moment. I like what this team did. There's some guys on the team that have stuck around. They're older guys. They have a lot of experience. They're going to lean on that experience this year. So I feel like while I believe Western should be in the top half, I really have them more in the top third to 25% of the conference.
Well, and I think the the biggest thing is you're not with the transfer portal, you're not relying on freshmen to step up, kind of like Ryan McAllister did last year. Um, you have guys like Sam, who we had on here. He's coming in. He was the 36th overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a top tier player playing at Northeastern, and he comes in, and I mean, I think he's in for a big year, and especially I'm trying to pull up the roster here because I know we talked about it before, but when he played at the World Juniors, um, the
Most of his
guys that
World
he
Juniors
was,
teammates are in the NHL right now.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. He's taking, maybe a little longer to develop, but that's not a bad thing. He's getting his reps in so he can become an NHL player. Um, Jackson Lacombe, Tyler Clevin, Brock Faber for the Wild, Trevor Zegras, who just signed an extension with Anaheim, who Sam was drafted by. Uh, Matt Beniers, Matt Boldy, Cole Caulfield, Alex Turcotte. I mean, you go through Bobby Brink, you go through these names, and it's like you don't get on that team if you were a terrible hockey player.
Yeah, no, dude. Those dudes played well in college. Some of those dudes are playing extremely well in the National League, or knocking on the door of getting a spot in the National League. Like, that was an incredible roster, and again, Western did a great job with reaching into the portal and finding guys, and even I think Alex Bump could be one of those kids who has could potentially have a similar season to what McAllister did. McAllister flying a little more under the radar than what we're hearing about Alex Bump, but I think he could be a freshman that comes in and just brings more attention to Western Michigan. I think Sam could be a guy similar to what we got from Max Sasson or Jason Poland type player. I haven't watched his game a whole bunch, but when we talk to him, I think he just has a great mind for hockey. I think he understands the game, and we'll see how he does. We've got some great centers in Luke Granger, who also has silky hands and can score goals. Tim Washy is great in the face-off dot. Top to bottom, I really like the way this roster is put together, and it'll just be a matter of can they gel, can they be as cohesive as we've seen some lines in the past, and I think Pat Ferschweiler and Jason Herder and JJ Crew have done a great job maximizing the potential of the players under them, and back-to-back NCAA tournament trips, a trip to the Frozen Face-Off Finals in 2022. Uh,
Hmm.
Last year got off to a little bit of a rough start just with all the new players, but I think that settles down a little bit. And this team feels like it could be one of the better teams in the conference for sure.
I think the one of the more main questions is that front line, the offense, and gelling and how quickly they can gel, because defensively, especially with Cam having one more year or having 1 year, full year under his belt in the NCHC, and how he developed from the beginning of the year towards the end of the year, I don't think the back end is as much of a question as the offense is right now with the guys that you've lost.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's a little bit from what I've seen and understand of the game without having played hockey. I feel like the offense is easier to gel together than it is the defensive side and the goaltender. Like to get that all together generally takes a little bit longer. You know, we hear that they're the guys who take a little bit longer to develop to become NHL guys, whether it's the goaltender or the defenseman. They tend to spend a little bit more time in the AHL or be in a bottom pair and then really come on like after a couple of years at that level, they turn it up a little bit. So I think that the backside comes along a little bit later. This group has been together for at least a season. We really didn't lose very much on the defensive side. We did lose Aiden Fulp, our main uh, puck blocker and one of our heavier shots. But we do have Zach Galambos coming back, who was an extremely offensive defenseman. Carter Berger coming back from an injury at the end of the season. Cedric Fiedler, who plays great in both ends as a defenseman and will partake in the play a little bit. They keep total defensive pairing of um, is it Wilson Dagger and Bauer? I think is the defensive pair. Yeah, because Hildebrand's a forward. So I mean, like it really, I think that the roster's in a good spot, and to me, they should be a little bit higher on this. Moving on to number 3, St. Cloud State. I feel like they're right in the butter zone. I actually have them in this area. Again, a team that didn't lose a whole bunch. No, it'll be interesting to. I mean, they lost some good players like Micah Miller, Jackson Castor,
Mhm.
um, but they keep a lot of good guys too. They have um, Dominic Bassi. He to me he should be the primary goaltender this year. We'll see how he handles a little bit more of the load because it was pretty much 50-50 last year. They
Yeah,
will be without Grant Cruikshank, who played an incredible season in his one season as a Husky. But again,
yeah,
that's another team that just seems to reload and they get the right guys in and they run an incredible system. Larson and Dave Shayak do a great job with that squad and keep them competitive. I mean, they've been in the top half of the conference for years now.
yeah. They're always a tough team, and it's as much as I don't like it, it's hard to bet against them. Honestly, I will cheer against them, but at the same time, while I'm cheering against them, I'm like, this is a damn good team. It's a really good team.
Yeah. One that I think maybe a little bit surprising here, North Dakota at 2. They're jumping them up 4 spots. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Nope,
They lost a ton of players, both to the
nope.
transfer portal. They lose defensemen to the pro ranks. I mean, we saw a couple more guys signed to Ottawa this offseason. Um, they do bring in Ludwig Pearson, who is a great goalie. We'll see how much more. Maybe he's able to do more with whatever the more of North Dakota is. They're heavy freshmen. They're heavy transfers. Um, they ran this they did something similar 2 years ago and ended up tying for first in the conference. I feel like this program is not what it was under Hextall, and Bradbury kind of got away with it for a little bit the first couple years, but it does not seem to be the North Dakota team that we're used to seeing. They
And he got away with it 2 years ago. He didn't get away with it last year.
no,
And I don't think he's going to get away with it this year.
no, I really don't think so either. I mean, again, I think a lot of people know that Pearson is a great goaltender, but that to be said, he has won very few NCHC games, and yeah, you can say maybe a majority of that has to do with the guys in front of him. He's put up some incredible performances, over 50 saves, but just as much as he knows all these other teams know him too, and they know his tendency. I mean, he has, I believe, in his career, I don't think he's beaten Western Michigan. In his career, I don't think he's beaten Denver. Um, those are teams that he's still going to have to see, and may even see Denver a little more frequently now being with North Dakota. So to me, I think they overreached on this one. I think the name North Dakota carried them more than their roster and their coaching staff. Um, and it's definitely not where I put North Dakota at all.
No, I have them nowhere near that, and it's not a knock on Ludwig at all. I mean, especially as a Bulldogs fan, he has had our number. He is a great goalie, but you look at the teams that other great goalies have played for, especially in the NHL. Even recently, Henrik Lundqvist, Carey Price, going back a little further, Dominic Hasek. They're phenomenal, but they don't have anything. And now he's going from not a great team to a team that has zero chemistry on the back end because they completely lost their decor and transfers and freshmen. They're trying to do that. I I just have zero faith in what they're doing there. I they might score some goals and everything, and yeah, North Dakota is probably going to beat UMD because we, for whatever reason, have not figured out how to beat him. But the rest of the team, I there's just not a whole lot there that makes me excited for them, and I they haven't recruited anybody either. Like I have no faith in their recruiting or how they're trying to run this program. It's just literally, okay, we're just gonna go in the transfer portal and see what we get. And hope we get a Yahtzee. It's putting all the dice in the cup and throwing them out.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I think everyone kind of thinks this is the way the portal's going to go. What was it? I mean, um, to pull from another sport, Deion Sanders said he wants like what 80% of his team or something like that to be transfer kids, or 60%, and then
Well,
20% to be
he's got damn near his whole team as transfers right now.
yeah. So I mean, like the transfer portal's doing a lot. I just we're starting to see Colorado struggle a little bit on the football field with all those transfers. We've seen North Dakota struggle a couple years here with that number of transfers. Yeah, and some of those guys, like, they want to be there. They've wanted to be at North Dakota, and either North Dakota didn't recruit them, so they went somewhere else, or there's something else drawing them back to North Dakota. But again, I think the name and the history of North Dakota is doing way more here than anything associated with the team to land that number 2 spot.
I agree with that. And just a quick thing with the transfer. Dion has his own way of doing things, but I think to use the transfer portal correctly for both players and teams, um, in one sense, kids aren't getting a chance to play at whatever school they are. So they'll go to another school like a Niagara or a St. Lawrence or something so they can get playing time and then they can potentially build a name for each other or for themselves. The other side of it is like Sam, when we talked with him and asked him about it, he transferred and he went to Western because he saw what Western has done the last few years and he knows they can elevate him.
Yeah.
So I think that's the right way to use it, where North Dakota is not using it the right way. They're not keeping the kids because you have to build a foundation instead of putting a whole new team together every single year. And guys are like, well, hey, I played against you in high school or what, like, but they don't know
Yeah.
each other. They don't know their tendencies.
Uh, and Denver, I think this one feels like a little recency bias. I think they may honestly have lost quite a bit. Not the most. I think North Dakota lost the most due to transfers and graduations. Um, but Denver is definitely certainly up there with what they lost. They lost some young players who have only been with the program a couple years. They lose to graduation. I can never remember which way his stupid name goes, but it's Magnus Corona. They lose him to graduation. He signs with the San Jose Sharks organization, so they're without their number one goaltender. Guys like Carter Mazer sign early. He signs with Detroit. Um, Bobby Brink left 2 years ago to the Flyers when it seemed like the Flyers were signing everybody from the NCHC.
Yeah.
They picked up like 3 NCHC players that offseason between Brink, Addard, and Cates.
Kate's.
And there may honestly have been some others, but those are the three whose names I remember for sure. So I feel like a little bit of a recency bias left Denver in that number one spot. And because I mean, like, look, Colorado College and Denver are only like 11 miles apart or 60 miles apart or something. They're very close to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
Denver somehow has a much better home ice advantage than Colorado College does for whatever reason.
I
And so,
think that it's starting to change, but there's a little bit of, because Denver has been better more recently.
yes. Uh, and I think that did a lot of work for them to be at number one. I do feel like they might be slightly overrated based on that kind of information. Um, but again, I don't hear a whole like I've looked for information on all these teams. There's just not a lot coming out. The team you hear the most about is probably North Dakota. They do the best with their coverage of the team. Um, and then St. Cloud State, honestly, is probably number two as far as news and stuff that you're getting because I think more so because of their sports journalism programs that they run there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the people who go through that program continue to stick and sell that program to other people. Kirsten, who we had on the pod and was awesome to talk to. She does a great job and will sometimes mention St. Cloud. What is Sydney Wolf constantly mentions St. Cloud State and what they're doing in her ability to cover all of the hockey that she does. It makes zero sense. She follows everything that is hockey, um, from
It's
literally like Minnesota high school to Canadian juniors to college women. Just got it nailed down. And if you need to know where a recruit's going, she's the one to ask because she will know.
it's easy. She just doesn't sleep, and she's going to die at the age of 40. But eh,
But I mean, and they're both
at least she's died. At least she's dying doing what she loved.
yeah, they're both products of St. Cloud and continue to provide news for that school. Western feels like there's very little news that comes out for Western unless it comes directly from the hockey team, and even then, it's kind of like a day late and a dollar short. Um, there's absolutely no news from Miami. Like I
I
said,
don't even think they know they have a hockey team at
I
this point.
yeah, absolutely no coverage there. Um, and Denver is kind of mid tier as far as where they fall into when they're covered, how they're covered, if they're going to be covered. So
Because I mean they're a major market in the sense of you have the Avs and the Nuggets and the Broncos and well the Rockies were terrible this year, um
Broncos are much
a-
better.
and well yeah I know but it's still the NFL. NFL rules everything. And Colorado Rapids, and they have so much going on there, that it's, well, if they're good, they'll get some coverage. And even UMD, really the only news source is Brusiski.
Yeah, and I mean he does a great job. He's all over my timeline. He does a
Oh
pretty
my god.
solid job. I mean, granted, like maybe 1 out of 3 tweets mentions the UMD hockey team. There's some stuff about the Vikings, the Twins,
Yeah, Bruce is a Packer
Mi-
and Brewers fan.
Minnesota in general. So I mean, he pops in and out of my timeline, but he does a solid job covering Minnesota Duluth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we both locked in Miami at number 8. Do you want to go back and forth here? Like I'll do 7, you do 7.
Yeah, we can do that. I can start with 7, and then you do 7, then you do 6, and I'll do 6.
Okay.
So I actually, at number 7, I have Omaha. I think last year they, yes, they are experienced, but I think that was more of a fluky year for them. I really think they're going to take a step back, even though they have brought a lot of guys back. I just don't trust that team to be consistently good.
I think their non-conference schedule prepares them a little bit better for the conference schedule this year. They Where in years past they have asked their conference schedule to do way more of the lifting for them throughout the season. I think they will be better prepared for this year. So while I can see them being at 7, they've never really been a bottom third team. They've been a mid third team. Uh, but it's definitely possible that we could see them. They have a sophomore goaltender. Sophomore goaltenders generally, for whatever reason, tend to be a little bit sketchy. So it's possible to see them go there. I actually have North Dakota at 7 for much of the reasons we discussed on why they shouldn't be 2. I have them at 7. I don't trust them this year. Ludwig again is well known by at least the teams that matter in the conference and struggles against those teams. He will have a fresh group of defensemen in front of him, and I would like to be pleasantly surprised by North Dakota, but I will just hate them more if they succeed, and I would rather see them at 7.
That's fair argument, and I can see them there as well. Again, for all the reasons that we talked about.
Number 6, I have the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. I haven't seen a lot of progression in the year, and really 5 through 7 are all kind of interchangeable for me. I don't know that I have the utmost what's the word, confidence in the goalie situation there still. I haven't seen either goalie really come out and take control of that crease and show to be a number 1. I think they got some fluky goals last year that really kept them in some games that they should have straight lost.
I know exactly one that I'm thinking of.
A couple of them may have been against a Western Michigan team. But I think they struggle, and I could see them really kind of being as high, like right back in that 4, 5, 6 spot. But yeah, this is where I got them. I got them at 6.
I do not have them at 6. That is where I have North Dakota. I had a little bit more faith in them just because of Ludwig, and I don't think they're going to be far and away the 6th seed. I think it's going to be a battle. But again, just with the whole brand new team trying to learn each other, figuring things out, I think they can get the 6th seed, but it'll probably only be by a couple of points. I think it's going to be a fight to the end with Omaha for them, and it might even come down to that last weekend. I don't see them being very far apart. So they could either be 6 or 7 to me. Uh, Number 5, I have Colorado College at uh, number 5. I do think that they are going to move up, and Berko is going to improve on his season and that culture that they've built there. I think they can move up to that spot.
I also have Colorado College at number 5. I see them making a jump of a couple spots, mostly due to stumbles by a team like North Dakota, a team like Duluth. To me, a lot of this does come down to Umberco and how well he can maintain what he did last year. But also, I have some. There was some hope at the end of last season from this team, defensively for sure. I mean, they shut down two of the most prolific offenses in the conference and in the country at the time, sweeping Western Michigan in the first round of the playoffs, earning a shutout over Denver in the Frozen Face-Off. They got exposed a little bit against St. Cloud State, but maybe you could say that it was because they had played Denver and Western 4 times already that year that they kind of got some stuff to click. But I think they used that to their advantage and uh, build on what they've accomplished and move themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, they just seem like there was progress from 2 years ago to last year, and yeah, they still finished 7th, but the way they finished the season and the players that they brought back, even though yes, they lost Hunter McCown, guys are going to take a step up, and I just have confidence in this program moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean they'll have they do get Logan Will back. He was a strong player last year. Stanley Cooley, another strong name. Both of those guys should progress a little bit in their game, and it doesn't seem far fetched for them to land here, especially again if teams like North Dakota and Minnesota Duluth stumble because at the end of last year those were the two teams in front of them,
Mhm.
and yet they went further than both of those teams in the playoffs. So if they continue to build it, this definitely could be a landing spot. Uh, this might be a shocker for some people, but I have Denver at 4. I have the Colorado schools right next to each other, 4 or 5, battling it out, kind of like the Minnesota schools have done the last couple of years. I just want to see what transition Denver makes, both from their starting goaltender and to some of their offensive, younger offensive guys. And I think they
I can
stumble a little bit. They struggle a little bit.
I can see that. I don't have them very far off of that. At number 4, I have UMD. I do think that we just take that one little step up. I don't think we're a top 3 team, um, but I think that having that year of Thiessen and Stay being fully healthy, and Thiessen understanding coming from Maine, understanding the NCHC and these teams and having that tandem, I think there's going to be a step up from there. And like I mentioned earlier, that leadership group last year, even though we're heavy on sophomore freshmen and sophomores this year, a lot of those sophomores got a lot of time last year. So they know what it's like. They can step up their game. And then the juniors, seniors, and grad students, they've been with this team. They know what it's like to win tournaments and play in the NCAA tournament. I don't think there's enough talent there to be a top 2, top 3 team, but I think there's enough there to be the 4 seed, and the goaltending is going to make a step forward between Thiessen and Stay Skull. So I have the Bulldogs at number 4. Number 3 is where I have Denver. I do see them taking a step back. I just think they're going to be still a better team than my Bulldogs. That's basically it.
This is where I have Nebraska, Omaha. I just think they're going to be better prepared. I think they've been on the rise a little bit. Uh, they finished third last year. I think they could do something similar where they capitalize on some of the play of the teams around them and win games. Not necessarily that they shouldn't, but they win opportunistic games when the teams above them struggle and move themselves up here and there. And they have their entire leadership core coming back and their captain and alternate captains. They have like Cozy coming back. He might be a little bit questionable as a sophomore, but I think they've improved enough to at least maintain where they finished last year, in my opinion. Number two, I have the St. Cloud State Huskies.
I do as well. I think our top two are the same.
Well, I would assume
obviously.
so.
Obviously, if I also have St. Cloud at two.
I think four. I think they should have done enough to improve on four, and really one and two could go back and forth. The spot that I'm most secure with is Miami being 8. Some change between 5 and 7, as far as like those teams not really making it much like 6 and 7. I don't see making it much past 5, and then I see some movement between 3 and 5 with a team like Omaha. I don't see them falling much further than 5, and Denver could be as high as like really it's 2 through 4, 2 through 5. There could be some movement there. I think the Huskies are still going to be a good team, and so I have them at second. And slight homer pick, but also I really like what they've done in the offseason. I like the way the team's gone, the moves they've made, and to me this seems like it feels like it's Western's year to win it. They've improved every year, even with losing their top offensive lines. Um, they have experience, the right kind of experience of guys who have won games, guys who have played in big games. Um, their non-conference schedule might be a little bit on the weaker side this year, but to a degree, and as much as I might berate Omaha for this, but Omaha does this year in and year out where their non-conference schedule feels a little weak. The Western non-conference schedule feels they're playing competitive teams, but they're not trying to make the NCAA tournament on their non-conference schedule. They're using their non-conference schedule to prepare for their conference schedule. And if we see Cam Rowe improve and play just as good as he did last year, but get some extra help in front of him, I think this could be a Western team that could potentially lift the Penrose and make another run in the NCAA tournament at the end of the year.
I think between St. Cloud and Western, it can go back and forth, like you said. I just think the talent that was brought in for Western through the transfer portal is going to be a little bit better. Goaltending wise, based off of last year, I might give it to St. Cloud, but the difference is Cam Rowe played basically every game for Western, where Bassie, he only played about half.
Yeah.
So that's where it's going to be interesting. I think both teams still have so much talent on their rosters, because when we went through St. Cloud just 2 weeks ago, you're looking at these names and they're names that you hear all the time that are impact players. Same thing for Western. They're really, really good players that are still returning. So I think it's going to be a fight to the end. luckily for you guys, you get Miami at the end of the year, and unluckily for St. Cloud, they get my Bulldogs. And the, I think that one could also come down to that last weekend, and you guys just potentially getting the advantage uh, via matchup, just with you playing Miami and UMD potentially fighting for a 3 spot, even though I don't think they'll be close to that 3 spot.
You know,
Um,
aside from where we each put Nebraska Omaha, we are pretty close. Like we're within a spot of most of these teams.
yeah.
The only one that we're vastly different on is Nebraska Omaha.
I don't know why I hate Omaha so much. I just do. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean they're North Dakota's rival, not yours. But yeah. Oh, hey, guess what? Guess what? There's games this weekend, my
There
friend.
are games
Now that
this
we're done
weekend.
with the rankings here, I'm gonna leave this up for just a second longer. But we have games this weekend. It is week 0.5 in college hockey.
I knew it, but I kind of forgot about it, so I don't even know who's playing
Well,
who
that's
this
okay.
weekend.
I got you. I
Oh,
got
thank
you.
you.
We've got the Mavericks of Nebraska Omaha taking on Minnesota State. Also, the Mavericks, a showdown of Mavericks, I believe.
But where's Goose?
Uh, well, Goose dies. Spoiler alert.
Damn it.
And it's all Mavericks' fault. It's not. Uh, in an
It's
exhibition,
Iceman's fault.
it's an exhibition game in Mankato. St. Thomas and St. Cloud will play a full series. Western Michigan travels a little bit east to Plymouth to take on the U.S. Under 18 National Development Team in an exhibition.
Heh.
Manitoba comes down to the States to play North Dakota in an exhibition. Miami takes about a 6-hour trip up north to face former CCHA foe in Ferris State in a full weekend series. Colorado College will welcome some Canadians of their own in Simon Fraser for an exhibition game. And your Bulldogs will host the Michigan Tech Huskies in a one-game series that is not an exhibition game on Friday, October 7th. October 8th, there are just 3 games. It is the second half of those. Oh, and then, sorry, Denver is at Alaska on the 7th. Just 3 games. St. Cloud will this time travel to St. Thomas to wrap up their home and home. Miami is still at Ferris State, and Denver will remain in Alaska facing Alaska Fairbanks, the Nanooks. So those are the games this weekend as far as the NCHC teams are concerned. I've got some picks. I doubt you do because you didn't even know the games were happening. So,
No, but I was. I mean, I don't care about the exhibition ones, but
well, I threw
I
them on
was
there
paying
anyway.
attention.
I have UNO beating a complete rebuild Minnesota State in their exhibition game. St. Cloud taking the sweep over St. Thomas.
Yeah, that one was
West
an easy pick for me.
Western Michigan and UND each winning their exhibition games. WMU over the U.S. development team. North Dakota over Manitoba. Um, I have Ferris sweeping Miami. Colorado College winning their exhibition game over Simon Fraser. Sorry, bud, but I gave your Bulldogs the L here. I picked Michigan Tech over UMD. And I picked Alaska over Denver in game 1. But I do have Denver returning the favor in game 2 to earn the split on the weekend.
I think we talked about it. I think in Miami's in our first 10 picks, I think I had them getting swept. Um I think UMD beats Tech. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a really tight game to the end. And there should be a lot of Michigan Tech fans there because it's probably only about a 4-hour drive, 3 to 4 hour drive from Duluth to Houghton. Well, Houghton to Duluth, I guess. St. Cloud, that's an easy one. And Denver, I think when we talked about them, I think I had them splitting that one because Alaska, they proved last year that they were a very solid team, and Denver is not the team that they have been the past few years.
I 100% agree. But those are the games for this week. I've got nothing else. I don't know if you have any little side bets, whatever, bets, pieces of information you wish to throw at the computer screen.
I don't know. Well, I will say, completely unhockey related. We finally broke the streak, the longest playoff drought. 2004, the Minnesota Twins had won a playoff game. Finally did that,
No one cares
and
about baseball.
you would have thought we won the World Series listening to our radio announcer.
Nobody cares about baseball.
Well, yeah, hockey hasn't technically started yet, so
Nope,
and there's no football until Thursday.
NHL's in the preseason.
Yeah, the preseason doesn't count. It's like preseason football.
It is. All right. Hey, can you do something this year with your life? Can you like keep track of picks or something?
Yeah, I can.
Well, we won't count the exhibition games, even though I did pick winners for them. So officially, it should be.
Here, I will make a note right now.
Okay.
On my phone.
Okay.
So.
And it's each win is a point. Each loss is clearly minus a point. Ties or zero, they're nothing. I guess we could do because I'm not picking ties for fucking games.
Yeah, it's just wins or losses.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if so I have St. Cloud for 2.
Yep, I have St. Cloud for 2.
Denver to
1.
Denver to split.
Yep.
So if they win and lose, then that would be 4 points, or it would be, I picked the game. If they split, I picked right on both games. Or do we want to go Do we want to actually go by like games? So like Friday, I have Alaska winning Friday. Yeah, let's do that. Let's not do like just say it's a split. You have to pick the right actual thing.
Well, then I'll go the opposite of you. Oh. Just because I want to beat you.
Okay. So Alaska to win Friday. Denver to win Saturday. And Ferris to win Friday and Saturday.
Yep, I have Ferris sweeping
and
Miami too.
Tech to win Friday over UMD.
And I have UMD winning. So
okay. So the start of the show next week, we will go through. We'll say the record, or each of ours record. So you gotta keep it up to date. That is your job this year for the pod. You have one job, Michael. That is a bright screen. Okay.
There we go.
Good. All right, I think that's it then. We've got picks. We talked about some games. We showed some stuff on some screens with our rankings. You know what? Let's run through those right quick one more time. They're on the screen. If you're looking at a screen, we'll just go through ours. We both have Western at number 1. We both have St. Cloud State at number 2. Number 3, I have Nebraska, Omaha. Michael has Denver. 4, I have Denver. Michael has University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. We each put Colorado College at 5. I have the Bulldogs at 6. Mike has the Fighting Hawks at 6. I have those same Fighting Hawks at 7. Mike has the University of Nebraska Omaha Mavericks at 7. And holding down just keeping a tight little talony grip on that 8th spot would be the Red Hawks of Miami University. So
I am so proud of them.
those are our ranks. They're a little bit different from the media, but I like ours better. So I guess that's really it. Other than the YouTubey things, there's a like button, there's a subscribe button, there's a dislike button. You can hit any of those. You can type yourself a little comment down there and hit send, and I'll review it at some point tomorrow when my phone lets me know that it's there. If you don't feel that's quick enough, you could message us or you could tweet us on the X/Twitter. They're not even tweets anymore. You could post at us on X. God, it sounds so. I mean, as much as tweet us sounded stupid, post at us sounds even dumber. But you could do that. You don't
We'll
have
slap
to.
you in the face with a post-it note.
You could also send us a DM for whatever reason that you feel you want to do that. You could email us at our Gmail account. Those have been scrolling down. There's the Twitter/X handle right there, the @Goalhorns and Fight Songs, which is GOALHRNFIGHTSNG. Because you can only have so many characters, and that's as many characters as it would allow me to have, and still make it look like Goalhorns and Fight Songs. The email address is indeed Goalhorns and Fight Songs, all one word, all of the letters squished together with an @gmail.com at the end of it. I think I did all the things. We have hockey this week. Not all the games count, but we have hockey this week.
There is hockey.
So,
And at least some of them count. That's the most important part. Some of them count.
Yes. I think that's it. I mean, there's really only one thing left to say. And that's Pucks on Net, good things happen. Like Goalhorns and Fight Songs. So enjoy the last few days without hockey. And we'll talk at you next week about some more hockey.